It's time for Lefties Losing It, and the meltdown over Stephen Colbert's overdue sacking continues. Now, a reminder, Colbert's show is not only terrible, but it also loses $40 to $50 million a year. How it survived this long is the scandal, but no, the left's mass meltdown continues, and it wouldn't be a mass meltdown without the input of the ladies of The View. Here is Sunny Hostin suggesting that cancelling a struggling show is pretty much the dismantling of democracy itself. These people are nuts.
It's very clear that if it is political, this is the dismantling of our democracy. This is the dismantling of our Constitution, right? And so the First Amendment is the First Amendment for a reason, and that is freedom of the press, freedom of speech, freedom to speak truth to power. What are we going to do as a country? We must protect our Constitution, and we must protect our democracy. I think this is bigger than just the cancellation of a television show.
And Jon Stewart has joined in the hysteria. He proves that leftism destroys everything. You know, Jon Stewart used to be mildly amusing. Now he's reduced to this.
Go yourself!
It's just sad. It's like some feral, undisciplined child that's learnt a rude new word and thinks it's really cool to keep repeating it. And Colbert himself thought this was a clever line. Have a look at his response to Donald Trump celebrating his sacking.
On Friday, Donald Trump posted, "I absolutely love that Colbert got fired. His talent was even less than his ratings." How dare you, sir? Would an untalented man be able to compose the following satirical witticism? Go yourself.
Sad thing is, he probably didn't compose that line. Reminder, one of the reasons The Late Show loses tens of millions of dollars every year is that it's got a huge team, 100 plus reportedly, including a big team of professional writers, and that's the best they can do. Now, let's wrap up this issue with the top 3 lowlights of Colbert's long run. Let's start with this cringe fest featuring Mark Cuban attacking, you guessed it, Donald Trump.
You're shiny, orange, and empty inside. I'd say you're a traffic cone, but I would swerve to avoid a traffic curve. That's gonna leave a mark, Cuban. Donald, I know you have no shot with Hispanics, because there's no way in hell you're getting the Cuban vote. Donald, the only way you're worth 10 billion is if I paid you $9.5 billion to wash my balls.
Pathetic, pathetic. Coming in at number 2 is this moment with Claire Danes, actress Claire Danes. Now, this was a rarity. This was a chance for Colbert to actually feature something interesting. But watch how he reacts when the Homeland actress talks about her interactions with the intelligence community. This is from Trump's first term in 2018 at the height of the Russian collusion hoax. Watch Colbert's panic as Danes mentions the intelligence community aligning itself with the media.
What's the most surprising thing that they've told you about their jobs, or something you would need to know from
Well, every year it's different, right? We've been at it for a while, and the climate has changed. But this year it was all about, you know, the distrust between the administration and the intelligence world, and the intelligence community was suddenly kind of allying itself with journalists, which usually they're not.
How long ago did you start shooting this season?
The panic was palpable, the way he jumped in to stop her completing that sentence. But the worst moment from Colbert has to be this weapon-grade trash.
The vaccine.
That's all I can stomach. That trash went on for some time. Shameless, shameless charlatan. Now to a tolerant, loving lefty lass raging wildly because Donald Trump is still alive and healthy.
When will he die? When will he die? I can't keep doing this. When will he die?
Now let's hear from CBS News correspondent Scott MacFarlane, who revealed that the real victim of the Butler assassination attempt against Donald Trump wasn't Donald Trump. It wasn't even the Trump supporter shot dead defending his family. No, the real victim was the media, including Scott MacFarlane. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You don't hate the media enough. You think you do, but you don't.
For those of us there, it was such a horror because you saw an emerging America. And it wasn't the shooting, Chuck. I got diagnosed with PTSD within 48 hours. I got put on trauma leave, not because I think of the shooting, but because you saw it in the eyes, the reaction of the people. They were coming for us. If he didn't jump up with his fist, they were going to come kill us.
I know.
He was on trauma leave. Not because he saw the president shot, not because he saw a man in the crowd shot dead. No, he was traumatised by the crowd. Let's bring in American Culture Project Senior Fellow and School Choice Advocate Corey DeAngelis. Corey, what can you say about that?
It's almost unbelievable, but yeah, the mainstream media on the left is just insane. He doesn't have PTSD. He has a different diagnosis. It's TDS. It's Trump derangement syndrome. And just imagine how that same guy acted on election night when Trump won all 7 of the swing states. But it's just amazing. Look, Trump was the real victim here. He didn't go on and complain about PTSD. This guy's trying to make himself the victim. Scott is trying to make himself the victim to try to politicize the event. And it's a shame. The left has so many weak men in America. And then on the other side, you have President Trump. He almost got shot. He's marching forward. He's leading the country towards greatness. So it just goes to show you the difference between the left and the right here in America. We have Trump, and they have Scott. So whose side do you want to be on? I'd say you probably want to be on Trump's side. And look, him saying that he got PTSD and that the crowd was coming after him or they were going to, there's no evidence whatsoever of that happening or any, crowds attacking the reporters at that rally. So I'll take things for $500 that didn't happen, Alex.
Yeah, it sounds like a bit of a guilty conscience, isn't it? Perhaps all the unhinged reporting about Donald Trump being a threat to democracy, being some modern-day Hitler, maybe all that sort of nonsense that the media pushed. Maybe he was feeling a little bit guilty that someone was taking shots at the president right before the election. Now, let's go to some good news, great news here. Blue-collar workers are seeing their wages grow significantly. The largest increase in nearly 60 years under Trump's second term. This is incredible, and it's precisely the sort of agenda that Trump campaigned on.
Boom. Trump is making America great again right before our very eyes. It's fantastic news. And this is the first time to see this kind of growth in the first 5 months of a presidency since Richard Nixon in 1969. Go back to Joe Biden's first 5 months. He saw a 1.7% decrease. Trump flipped that trend completely, a total 180. Now he's seeing a 1.7% increase in wage growth for blue-collar workers. There's a lot of reasons for this, and there's a lot of reasons to think that this will continue. Look, Trump won the vote on the economy. He won the vote on people preferring him on immigration reform as well. And he's stopping so much of the illegal immigration and immigrants crossing the border. Those illegal immigrants force wages downwards. So Trump stopping that flow into the country allows for American workers to make more money. He's focused on manufacturing. And just imagine if we had a Federal Reserve chair who allowed interest rates to go down a little bit, you'd have even more investment. So there's more good things to come. The big, beautiful bill just passed. We'll have some tax reforms in there and no tax on tips. That's obviously going to help workers too.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. The cut in illegal immigration, the numbers absolutely dropping to near zero, must be having an impact on those blue-collar jobs and those workers getting a decent pay increase. And yet it's happening with inflation not booming. In fact, inflation is falling. The tariffs haven't had an impact on that. So all the things we were told that were going to lead to economic doom and gloom haven't happened. The share market is at record highs. It's all at the moment going well. Now, this is a sign that the culture is changing as well. Billy Joel is the latest celebrity to reject wokeism. He says he doesn't care what the woke think.
And you don't care what they say about you, the woke or...
At this point, no, I'm inured to it.
It's refreshing, Corey, to have a celebrity, whether it's an actor or a musician, who just wants to focus on their craft, doesn't want to lecture the people about political issues, foreign matters, things that they have absolutely no expertise in.
Nature is healing. I mean, this is how it should be. And yeah, artists should focus on art. Politicians should focus on the politics. And look, the American people should listen to what the politicians are saying on their preferred policies and then support them or not. But Hollywood has been a total mess in the United States over the past couple decades, where they've felt compelled almost to dip their fingers into politics, things that they have no understanding of. And I think a lot of conservatives, when they get a whiff of that on Netflix or other streaming services, or when they see this in the movies, it's a real turnoff. And I think maybe some of Hollywood is saying we've gone too far and we should reverse course for our own good, so we don't. You saw the whole thing that happened with Bud Light in the United States too. I mean, companies are now afraid of going too woke. Maybe Hollywood should be afraid as well.
I think they're going to be one of the last, though, Corey, to finally read the room and change their ways. A lot of them seem determined to produce content that people don't want, that alienates at least half their potential fan base, just to make a political point. But I think you're right, it will eventually change, because why would you want to make a movie that most people can't even be bothered seeing? Now, before you go, this is concerning. Pete Buttigieg, the former head of the Department of Transport, he spent $80 billion on DEI grants. The New York Post reports the former Transportation Secretary failed to replace outdated air traffic control systems while he was in office, but he did manage to spend some $80 billion on the Biden administration's DEI agenda, and this is according to federal spending records and airline industry insiders. This is worrying, particularly given the sector he was managing, Corey.
I know. I mean, no wonder all my flights were delayed. But yeah, this can even be dangerous. It could be even more than a nuisance. I mean, and when flights are delayed, that hurts the economy. But when you're dealing with safety issues and flying, and instead you're preferring to spend that money on diversity, equity, and inclusion, this Marxist garbage, that, by the way, we should focus on merit. We should have the best pilots. We should have the best people in the jobs when it comes to air transportation, because that's the number one issue here. We want people to be safe. And so it shouldn't be based on your background, the color of your skin. It should be based on whether you can be competitive enough to fly that plane safely. And so that they spent $80 billion on DEI initiatives that are discriminatory on the basis of immutable characteristics, that is a huge red flag. And look, so many people are just, they're seeing DEI nonsense for what it is. And I think this is why you have some people in Hollywood backing off, some people in the arts backing off of DEI and woke garbage. It's just common sense to support merit and to support safety. And there are opportunity costs with this funding. If it's going to DEI, it's not going towards these safety provisions.
Absolutely. Corey DeAngelis, thank you so much for your time. Now, the success of Zoran Mamdani, currently the frontrunner to be the next mayor of New York, had our own ABC asking an interesting question. How did Zoran Mamdani get so many Jewish New Yorkers to vote for him? Indeed, how did this anti-American, anti-Israeli, economically illiterate, hard-left socialist win the support of so many Jews? Comic Army Kozak has the answer.
Hey everyone, I'm a Jew and I'm voting for Zoran Mamdani.
Really? You're Jewish and you're voting for him? Why?
Because I care more about being liked than being alive.
And you said you're proudly Jewish, right?
Yes.
Do you practice Judaism?
No.
Do you belong to a synagogue?
No.
Do you have a Jewish family or
No.
part of a Jewish community?
No.
Any connection to Israel?
God, no.
So why bring up that you're even Jewish?
Well, it's useful because it's technically true, so I can use that identity to give him cover.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about his economic policy?
Yes, love it.
Why do you like socialism?
Because I care more about rich people not being rich than poor people not being poor.
Now, I'm delighted to welcome Army Kozak back to the program. Army, you summed it up there beautifully. These people are using their Jewishness, whatever Jewishness they have, to give Mamdani cover.
Yes, well, good to be with you, Rita. Thank you for having me. Here's what I'll say. I think there's a few things going on here. And despite what the video may suggest, the last thing I'd want to do is dismiss somebody's Jewishness or call it into question. I happen to be an Orthodox Jew, and I don't want to fall for that temptation that too many people do to sort of say that people who are less religious than them or observant than them somehow are less Jewish than them. I don't have an issue, and I don't want to judge anybody's personal practice. However, if the only time you're going to use your Jewish identity is to provide cover when you're trying to defend those who I think are very dangerous for Jews, when you only use your Jewish identity to stand up and protest against Israel, the only Jewish state, and you stand with people who I think put the Jewish community in danger, then I really object to that. And I think a lot of people use the Jews on the left who support Mamdani use their identity as cover in order to sneak in a lot of very nefarious, dangerous ideas. Frankly, I think for a lot of people in that side, on that side of the aisle politically, and you could say progressive Jews, you know, I'm not sure how much of their identity and their practice is really rooted in Judaism or their Jewish identity. I think perhaps a lot more of it is rooted in liberal or progressive values or far left values. You know, a lot of Jews are disproportionately college educated. And what does college educated mean in today's modern society of college? What are they learning? I think you're seeing a lot of socialist ideas coming from the administration. You're seeing a lot of these ideas that they find seductive and interesting, and that is the core of a lot of their value systems, social justice, and nothing that is necessarily exclusively Jewish. I think the idea of things being exclusively Jewish makes a good amount of people uncomfortable. They want to be included and be seen as progressive and enlightened, but I really take issue with using that Jewish identity to provide cover for that. What you didn't see is Zionist Jews for Mamdani, Orthodox Jews for Mamdani, people who feel very connected and protective of their community for Mamdani. What you see is people who I think identify more strongly with progressive far left values that are for Mamdani, and then say, well, I'm technically ethnically Jewish, so you don't have to worry about globalize the Intifada or apologists for some of these horrible ideas and horrible ideologies, or, you know, and perhaps they're in favor of the economic policies as well. But don't use your Jewish identity to provide cover for that. My arguments, because I'm Jewish, does my Jewish identity necessarily mean that my pro-Israel arguments are correct because I'm Jewish? No, and by the same token, your anti-Israel arguments are not necessarily correct just because you're Jewish. So that's what I take issue with.
Now among Mamdani's most influential supporters is a Jewish man, a powerful Jewish man who's got ambitions of being president. He may still have those ambitions. Bernie Sanders, born and bred in New York, and he recently met with Mamdani. Ami, I wonder if you could just tap into that meeting and tell us how that went.
Sure. Probably something like this. Senator Sanders, how are you? It's good to see you. Well, listen, Zoran, it's great to see you, because for so long I have been wanting to basically demonize the 1% and redistribute wealth across to the 99% of middle class and working people of this country. And I am so glad to partner with somebody who shares those values, so much more unapologetically than in a way that I couldn't. Basically, you just say you're a socialist flat out, and I guess that's even more honest than I could say. I've kind of tried to sneak it in, democratic socialist, but you're doing it, and you want to seize the means of production. I mean, that's ballsy. That's really ballsy. I appreciate that so much. Give me a bit. Let me try some of that. Delicious. I really appreciate that, and I love what you're doing, and I think we are gonna basically demonize billionaires, not millionaires, because I'm one of them right now. And so we're going to take, let's stop talking about millionaires. I became one. So we're going to move that off and just billionaires and trillionaires and quadrillionaires, because I probably won't become that. As long as I'm a millionaire, we're going to scooch it over. And you are too. But we're going to use the wealth that we so demonize to accomplish our political vision. I agree with you so much, Bertie. Thank you. And thank you for the coverage you provide as a Jewish senator. Something
Beautiful.
like that.
I feel like I was there. I feel, Army, like I was there. Now, let's hear from actor Mandy Patinkin. He's a renowned actor, and he's blaming one man for the rise of anti-Semitism that we're seeing across the West today. This vision courtesy of the New York Times.
I ask Jews all over the world to consider what this man, Benjamin Netanyahu, and his right-wing government is doing to the Jewish people all over the world. They are endangering not only the state of Israel, which I care deeply about and want to exist, but they are endangering the Jewish population all over the world. He is the most dangerous thing, not just since October 7th.
Well, there's certainly passionate, Army. Is Netanyahu responsible for the rise in anti-Jewish sentiment? I wonder if you could give Mandy some professional advice here, perhaps tapping into Jordan Peterson, for example. His wisdom, I think, could be valuable right now.
Well, to Mandy, I would say that, you battled the six-fingered man once upon a time, but you can't even see straight today, and you're not standing up straight with your shoulders back. There's such a bloody moral perversion going on here. What a despicable pass you're giving to the anti-Semites of the world. I mean, you would never, ever consider saying to an African-American man that the rise of anti-black bigotry is the fault of the blacks and not of the anti-black white supremacists themselves. But somehow with the Jews, it's like, well, certainly a glaring double standard. But I'll say in all seriousness, it's only in the case of Jews that somehow the hatred against them is the fault of Jews and not the Jew haters, not the, and it's the same moral confusion that's applied to Israel itself. Who's putting Jews in danger? Not the prime minister. It's not the people holding hostages. It's the prime minister trying to retrieve them. That's the man who's responsible for putting Jews in danger. Are you kidding me? Not the genocidal regimes who wish to wipe out the Jews. It's the Jews who speak out and confront them. Somehow that's puts Jews in a more precarious position. And I thought we aren't conflating Zionism and Israel with Jews around the world. Oh, well, I thought that was the whole argument. Oh, but you're doing just that, Mandy, conflating the actions of Bibi as a government, Israel as a government, with Jews worldwide, and he's somehow putting them in danger. I mean, what a glaring hypocrisy. This is what happens in the face of evil: self-blame, sadism, this masochistic view that it's somehow our fault, it's on us, and the evil that is coming upon us as Jews, we deserve it, and we need to do everything we can to mitigate it rather than defeat it. It's unbelievable. Sorry.
It is unbelievable.
I lost my train of thought there.
But you're so right, Army, for the left to be indulging in victim blaming essentially here is it's shameful. Now, before you go, I will be speaking to Douglas Murray on tomorrow night's program. We have Douglas on the program every week, and I was wondering whether you had any words of advice for him, because he faces all sorts of threats and hostility from Islamists, from the anti-Israel lobby. Could you please deliver that advice to Douglas Murray as Douglas Murray?
Well, it's good to be with you, Rita. It's certainly the case that, we're coming up against people who despise Israel, despise the Jews, the Zionists, and the West. Well, in the face of such darkness and people who are unapologetically public about it, I would say that we need to confront them and tell them, we don't want you here, we don't want you in our country, and keep being the light among the nations, and keep being the shining city on the hill, and remember what the West stood for, that we don't want to be weakened by these forces in our society. We need to confront them, we need to be real, and well, for you, of course, Rita, you've been a stalwart hero in platforming the heroic voices that are willing to stand up to the people who want to destroy the West and destroy the values we stand for, rather than amplifying those voices who are full of self-loathing and hate. It's inculcated in our society, in our universities, and I think we need to do everything we can to not come on to it. I think we need to confront it, and my advice to Douglas is to keep doing what he's doing and speaking truth and light. And who will defend the Jews? The Europeans? No. The Arab world? No. Only the Jews will defend the Jews and Douglas Murray. Thank you.
Incredible. That's almost spooky, Army. It's spooky, Army Kozak. It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Rita. Good to be with you.